I'm not even sure who I'm clapping for. Who am I clapping? Am I clapping for myself? I don't even know who I'm clapping for. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. The Sliwa Show, Thursday, May 15th at 8 a.m. All right. Change some volume here. Okay, we're good to go. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Cheers to you. Cheers to whatever you're drinking on this fine morning. Cheers to you got some coffee, you got some whatever you got going on, do your thing. Certainly. I already did the coffee. Now I'm on tea. You guys kind of know my routine. I do some lemon water in the morning as well. So I got all cylinders firing right now. We got a fun show today. We got a lot going on. We got a lot of topics to hit on, a lot of NBA stuff. Got a couple Laker topics that I think you guys are going to find interesting, and I certainly want to get your guys' opinion on it. So thank you very much for being here. If you guys don't mind, please subscribe to the channel. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, how dare you? How dare you not subscribe to this channel? I mean, I thought we were family. And then all of a sudden I found out you're not subscribed. It's like you turned your back on the family. Come on, my people. All right, I got a quote for everybody here real quick. Let me see what we got here. Knicks Nation. Come on, Knicks. Knicks, don't freaking screw this up. Can you imagine if the Knicks choke? Listen, go look at one of my topics. Knicks, don't choke. Can you imagine if the Knicks choke this thing away? All right, quick quote here for everybody. You are not a team because you work together. You are a team because you trust, respect, and care for each other. I like that. You're not a team because you work together. You're a team because you trust, respect, and care for each other. All right, I like that. It's phenomenal. You could apply that to work, family, whatever it is. If you guys got a quote you guys want to share with everybody, share with the crew, feel free to do so. Let me give everyone a quick rundown of what we got going on for the show today. You know what's kind of cool today? And I don't think you guys can hear it. I wish you guys can hear it. I wish. I can't play music because of YouTube restrictions. I get licensed. If you don't have the license for it, then that's it. Your video either can't be monetized or gets taken down or anything along those lines. I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. That will come to phase 2 of the Sliwa Show and everything else that I'm doing. But I do have some music playing in the background in my headphones. You guys can't hear it, but I can hear it. Kind of a nice little mix here. Never really done that before. I got some Barrington Levy playing right now. Oh, I got some old school reggae. I'm a roots reggae guy. I like give me that 70s, 80s, give me that time frame right there. I listen to reggae all day long. All right, real quick here. Give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today, what we got going on this morning. Number one, I'm going to hit on just a couple of the playoff games that were on yesterday. Nothing crazy. Nothing, out of the ordinary. I'm not going to go too in depth because, frankly, I just don't know how much everybody would want me to go too in depth on it. But I'll give you guys a little bit of a snapshot. We'll talk about the Warriors being eliminated. We'll talk about the Wolves moving on. I don't know how you guys feel about the Minnesota Timberwolves, but for me, whoever comes out between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets are my pick to get to the NBA Finals. I was not that overly impressed with the Minnesota Timberwolves, to be honest with you. I thought the Timberwolves looked like the 96 Bulls against the Lakers, and then I think they went back to the Timberwolves when they played against the Golden State Warriors. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. Celtics survive, so they see another day, even without Jason Tatum. Knicks, do not choke. Win Game 6. Game 6 is going to be tomorrow. Go win Game 6, move on, and call it a day. Do not screw this up. I think they will, but there's a little bit of a chance, a little bit of pressure that's starting to mount on the New York Knicks not to screw this thing up. Sammy Long's going to join us. Sammy hasn't been here since the Lakers were eliminated, so I got a couple things. We'll have a conversation with Sammy. For those who don't know, Sammy was doing all the preview videos before the games and did a fantastic job doing that. So Sammy will come in. Most disappointing Laker in the playoffs. I got a list for everybody. But who was most disappointing? Who's either an individual, could be a coach, it could be, you guys name whoever it was that you walked away and said, what the hell happened to that player or the head coach or any of that stuff? You could feel free to do so. Dorian Finney-Smith. I was really disappointed in Dorian Finney-Smith during the playoffs. I really was. And, I'm somebody that was also promoting Finney-Smith. I like Dorian Finney-Smith. I'd still make that trade for D'Angelo Russell 100 out of 100 times, but he's got a decision to make this offseason. He's got a player option. How much money should go to Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, is interesting. And then NFL schedule, actually the whole schedule is out now, so there's a couple marquee games that we'll look at. Again, nothing crazy. I'll just do it towards the end of the show. A couple things around the MLB that we'll get into. Somebody asked me yesterday about Pete Rose, and I forgot to do it, so we'll do that. And we'll take a quick look at what's going on in the NL West, and then we will call it a day. To give everyone an idea, I mentioned this yesterday. I am going to probably be out a little after 9 today. So I'm shooting down to Harris Resort, which is kind of, where is that? Kind of North San Diego. It's about 2 hours away from LA, about an hour away from San Diego, you want to call it. So working on potentially doing some type of a partnership with them. So we're just going to get together. I'm going to be doing my show from there tomorrow. So FYI, I will not be in the studio tomorrow. I will be down at Harris Resort, SoCal. All right. Let me take a look at a couple comments here before we get started, and then we'll get things going here. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, vision cleared, ambition inspired, and success achieved. Ocean Breeze, phenomenal right there. I like that right there. What's a good reggae song to start with? Damn. I'm going to give you an artist, not a song. Go listen to Burning Spear. Burning Spear might be, he's definitely one of my top favorite reggae artists, but he's old school. Go find some of his old music. Burning Spear. That dude, every song that he sings, he's got a message. Every song that he sings, you feel it in his soul, so you feel it in your soul. Go look up Burning Spear. You won't be disappointed. He's an OG. Okay. All right, let's see. We got any more here? Well, let's get... Ooh, Night Nurse. That's a great one right there. That's a great one to suggest. Look at everybody. Look at the comments. People know what they're talking about here. So you can look at the comments, and they could give you some examples right there. All right, let's get the show started. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Let's get things started here. Let's just real quick go back to the NBA yesterday. You had 2 games last night, and this is it. By the way, if you were hoping for 2 NBA games a night, those days are over. You're not going to get those anymore. The Pacers have moved on. They're waiting in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Minnesota Timberwolves have moved on. They're waiting in the Western Conference Finals. Now you're going to start getting the 1 game a night at best. That's what happens when the playoffs move on. It's okay. The quality is getting better. The opponents are getting, obviously that's better as well. Celtics survived last night, and they see another day. I got to be honest. I wasn't expecting a 25-point blowout from the Boston Celtics. I wasn't. We all know what happened with the Jason Tatum news. Just real quick on this one, and then I'll get to the other series, because I think obviously the series against the Warriors series is a little bit more, I guess you can call it, relevant because it's the West. Celtics move on, or Celtics survive for one more day, 127-102 over the New York Knicks. Didn't see that coming. I thought Celtics would fight. I thought Celtics would make it a dogfight, but I thought the New York Knicks were going to put their foot on the throat of the Boston Celtics and say, hey, listen, this just ain't your year. Whatever happened to Jason Tatum, sorry, we feel bad for, but we got to take advantage of. That just kind of comes with the playoffs. It's not the best team that wins. It's the hottest and the healthiest. And right now, the New York Knicks, definitely one of the hottest teams. And from a health perspective, they got all their guys. Boston don't. Boston blows them out. They end up winning the game by 25, and they survive another day. Kind of some interesting things. Porzingis still has been a non-factor in this series. Jaylen Brown goes off for 26 points. He has 12 assists. Derek White, 34, drops 34, hit 7 threes for the Boston Celtics. They don't miss a beat yesterday. Now, what's going to be difficult for them is, can you do that in New York? Can you do that at the Madison Square Garden? Peyton Pritchard dropped 17. I know Luke Cornett came in and was a stud, 10 points, 9 rebounds, and also had 7 block shots. The Celtics survive. So they see another day, and all Boston was trying to do is put a little bit more pressure, a little bit more. Can they put a little bit more pressure on, the New York Knicks? And I think mission accomplished. I really actually think that was kind of their entire hope was, can you just put a little bit of pressure on the New York Knicks as they have to now go back home? Now, I will say this, the world's not over. I think the Knicks are still in a phenomenal position. Obviously, they're going to throw every haymaker they possibly can in Game 6 coming up. And this thing's set up. It's a Friday night game, Game 6, 5 p.m. at the Madison Square Garden. That place is going to be rocking. A chance to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, a chance to eliminate the Boston Celtics. But just by the Celtics surviving, just in my opinion, there's a little bit of hope there if you're the Boston Celtics. And for the Knicks, now you're like, all right, well, we better not lose Game 6 at home from the Madison Square Garden. I think the one thing that sticks out to me, and when I sit here and I talk about how it's going to be important for them to just close out this series, the New York Knicks are not exactly known for having the best NBA franchise in the league. The New York Knicks are actually known for wildly disappointing their fans year after year after year. Don't screw this up, because if the New York Knicks cannot close it out tomorrow at Madison Square Garden, I think they're going to. I think Jalen Brunson will do his thing. I think Mikal Bridges will do his thing. I think, Karl Anthony Towns. I think you could go down the list. I think they will do their thing. I 100% believe that. I'm expecting the New York Knicks to close out this series tomorrow. But if they don't, or if this is a close game with 3 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden the Knicks are like, what is happening here? Is there a chance we actually go back to Boston for a Game 7 without Jason Tatum? You do not want to be in Boston for a Game 7 on Sunday. You just do not. Listen, for me, I'll take as much NBA as possible, but I would prefer to see the New York Knicks move on and not the Boston Celtics. But with all that being said, this is on the Knicks' back, and look, you got to be feeling it a little bit. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to just pretend that they won't feel some pressure tomorrow. But if they get out to a 10, 12-point lead, I think that pressure will go away. I think the fans, will obviously be rocking. And then I think the Knicks get to the Eastern Conference Finals. So that was the game from yesterday. Knicks, don't F this up. Do not screw this up. Go handle business. The other game, which I don't think was a surprise at all, the Warriors are out. So what did they have? I think Steph Curry was out with 8 minutes left to go in the second quarter, and you never saw him again. They had no chance without Steph Curry. I think we all understand that. The Warriors lose the series 4-1. Timberwolves now wait for the winner of the OKC and Denver series. I would not pick the Wolves in the Western Conference Finals. That's just my assessment. Maybe I'll have Alan Horton come on next week so he can talk a little bit about the Western Conference Finals and everything else. But yeah, I don't think I was too sold on the Minnesota Timberwolves. And they handled the Lakers and exposed the Lakers like no tomorrow. But I also thought they struggled a little bit against the Minnesota Timberwolves they struggled a little bit against the Golden State Warriors. Give the Warriors credit. I'm not trying to take anything away from, the Golden State Warriors. And I'm not trying to make it sound like Minnesota are bums, because I don't think they are. But I think a 7-game set, if they go up against Denver, I would take Denver. A 7-game set against the Oklahoma City Thunder, I would take the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think with them, one of the things I question, as much as Anthony Edwards is an absolute stud, he's an absolute stud. There are moments in the game where, his decision-making, I question a little bit. If his shot's not on, I think there are too many times he tries to take the ball to the basket and draw a foul rather than just finish. Randall has been amazing. Okay, what happens if you start playing a team like Denver or OKC? Will they be able to neutralize Julius Randle? I'm assuming they are going to be able to do that. So I think there's a lot of factors that kind of come to play here for the Minnesota Timberwolves as they get ready to get to the Western Conference Finals. Give them credit. It's 2 years in a row. They made it to the Western Conference Finals. Sometimes the path that you're on is more beneficial. They didn't have to play the Clippers. They didn't have to play Denver. They didn't have to play OKC. They played an injured Warriors team. And frankly, they dominated the Lakers. So I got nothing to say about that. I mean, as much as this channel focuses on Lakers basketball, the absolute truth is the Lakers got handled by the Minnesota Timberwolves. But with all that being said, I think, give them credit for where they are. I just don't know how much confidence I have in the Minnesota Timberwolves. Maybe they'll prove us wrong again. I did I pick Warriors? I think I picked Warriors against Minnesota. I can't remember, but it really doesn't matter. The moment Steph Curry was out, that series was over. I thought there were some interesting quotes. I'm going to point these out real quick. After the game yesterday, question about if Steph Curry was healthy, how far do they think they could have gone? Here's what Steve Kerr said. I don't even have to think. What if? I know we had a shot. I know we could have gone the distance, talking about winning an NBA championship. Maybe we wouldn't have, but it doesn't matter. Again, everything in the playoffs is about who stays healthy and who gets hot. Are you playing well at the right time? So Steve Kerr was saying that he thought that they got a shot at winning an NBA championship. And I got to be honest with you, I don't disagree. I think if they went up a 7-game set against the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think they would have been a real headache for the Thunder. I think they would have been a real headache for the Denver Nuggets. I think they would have been a headache. Doesn't guarantee they would have won an NBA championship. Doesn't guarantee that they got out of the West. But I definitely think they could have been a headache. So I think no question about that. I think the question now for the Golden State Warriors is going to be what they do in the offseason, obviously what happens next year. Remember, they made a trade too. They traded for Jimmy Butler. At the time they traded for Jimmy Butler, they only had kind of a couple of months to figure it out, kind of similar to the Lakers. But their roster was more whole than the Lakers were. At least we found that out in the playoffs. And for the Lakers, that wasn't the case. I think for the Lakers, obviously we found out how they were getting exposed. All right, let's see what we got here. Let me look at a couple of comments, and I just want to see what a few people got to say in regards to the series, and then we'll go. Hope the Knicks continue the disappointment trend. Here's the problem. The problem is, let's say they do. That means Boston's in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'd rather see the Knicks in there than the Celtics. Let's see what we got here. Boston plays better with one star out. They did all season. If I'm right, I think I saw a stat. They were 8-2 without Tatum this year. Is that? I think somebody had said that. Maybe it's not that high of a percentage, but they obviously know how to win games even without him. Celtics got some help from the refs. They called some BS fouls on Brunson. Angelo, you might be right. They still won by 25. They still won by 25. So I think that there's much more to it than just they got some help with the referees. The Warriors did a lot of holding. When Curry got hurt, they knew they were done. Still kind of played all the way through. Golden State has a bright future. All right, that gives us a little bit of an idea. So still some, obviously still 2 series still active. You still got Boston and New York, and you still got Denver and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we still got a couple more series to go, but we also know that 2 series are wrapped. Indiana waits, and the Minnesota Timberwolves wait. All right, let me bring on my guy here, Sammy Long, joined in the show. What's up, Sammy?
What's up, dude? What's going on?
It's been a while, brother.
I know I missed everybody. Those damn Lakers had to lose, so, kill the playoff run.
Yeah, that one ended a lot quicker than we thought. What's going on?
Yeah,
so are you now? Tell me, are you watching all these NBA games? Are you still watching all the playoffs, or are you like? There's some Laker fans that basically they delete their NBA app. They no longer go to ESPN once their team is gone. I'm not one of those. I keep watching.
Yeah. Well, what else are you gonna watch? It's like I love baseball, but it's so early in the year. No, I'm definitely locked into all of it. Keeping track of it. It still hurts a little bit, not gonna lie. When we see these teams, and it feels like the Lakers really, maybe this is what they were all along. Maybe they really underplayed their value. When the trade happened, it felt like, people didn't have high expectations maybe for this year. It was all about the future, and the Lakers really kind of overplayed that on the backstretch of the year, and everyone kind of got excited. But it does suck. It feels like that Minnesota series, if they just had a big, might have went the other way, but it didn't. So got to go next year.
Yeah, it's kind of funny the way you just put it. I think if you told me Lakers made a trade for Luka, they got rid of Anthony Davis, they got rid of Max Christie, and we didn't get to see any of the regular season, and you just forwarded to the playoffs, you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The problem is, in the regular season, all of a sudden you had some. I don't know. Did we have some false hope? I don't think there was false hope. I think they put stuff on paper. This is who we are. We can win even without some of this size. We can figure ways out. LeBron and Luka can do this, and Reaves can do that, and role players can. I'm not 100% sure how it just kind of all fell apart, but I think the way you described it, let's just say they made the trade. You knew Luka was going to be a Laker and they don't have size. And then you fast forward it to the playoffs and you watch them lose against Minnesota, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. The problem is all that in between, you played good regular season ball, you got the number 3 seed, and you even thought, you had a matchup where it was a winnable series.
Yeah, it's like the worst parts of everything of the team came out at the wrong time. It was entire role players did nothing, and that was kind of the secret sauce down the stretch. Is Gabe Vincent was playing really well. I mean, he was kind of becoming a really nice shooter. Connect was getting time, and I know that changed in the playoffs because he couldn't really play defense. I thought he should have gotten some run considering that no one else was really hitting shots. I understand going into the series, and Jackson Hayes was like everyone thought was. Could this guy be a legit center? And then that got exposed, obviously, in the playoffs because he can't hit a jump shot. Minnesota figured that out. It was like, we're just going to put Gobert in the paint and not even let him get there. So, yeah, it really just felt like a kind of a perfect storm. I do think JJ Redick then, I like what I saw from JJ this year, but you made a great point post-game after they lost. It was like he just kind of fell back, and he looked like a rookie head coach where he hadn't all year. And he kind of fell back into those not calling timeouts, all those tendencies, and just kind of a perfect storm, and credit to Minnesota. I mean, they're going to the Western Conference Finals.
Okay. I'll get your thoughts on the playoffs, the current playoffs in just a second, but let's stay on the Lakers here for a quick second. And I want those that are hanging out right now and part of the chat, or maybe you're watching this a little bit later and you could put it in the comments as well. Most disappointing in the playoffs for the Lakers. Okay. So let me kind of set this up here. You think back in the postseason and you got high expectations for certain players, coaches, whatever the case is. When you walk away from the playoffs, what were you most disappointed with? And really what I'm asking for is an individual. Okay. So let me kind of throw some options out there. Somebody might say Austin Reaves. Somebody might say Dorian Finney-Smith. Maybe somebody says LeBron or Luka. Maybe somebody says JJ Redick. You could say Rob Pelinka. You could say, hey, I was really disappointed that Pelinka didn't make the trade for Mark Williams to give this Lakers team a shot in the playoffs. Is there a player or a coach or front office that when the dust settles, we're sitting here now, Lakers have been out for a couple of weeks, that you're like, yeah, I was most disappointed by that individual? And by the way, if you guys got something on the comments, I'll read them as we go through.
Yeah, I think for you. I think the easy answer, I think a lot of the comments saying is Reaves. He certainly didn't show up in the series, and heading into it, that was the one advantage the Lakers had, which is why I thought they'd win the series. We knew that Minnesota was bigger. We knew they probably had more depth than the Lakers, but who was going to guard Reaves? Because all down that stretch, it was the third best on-ball defender was going on Reaves, and they couldn't guard him down the stretch of the year. And that was kind of the Lakers, in my opinion, what made them so dangerous. They had 3 elite scorers. He was hurt. I know it came out. He had the toe injury. Yeah, it kind of seems like it always happens. But it did, to be fair to him, it did look like he was bothered by something because he was never right. But I think you made a good point about Pelinka. Like, I can't kill Pelinka because he got Luka Doncic and he got Dorian Finney-Smith in Rui Hachimura in years past. Like, he's pulled off a lot of really good trades. But the Mark Williams thing, it felt like they were excited about Mark Williams. And then all of a sudden the public reaction was, wow, you gave him Dalton Connect. So then you send him back. But then you don't even play Dalton Connect in the playoffs. So you basically just it's like if you were going to do that, why don't you up his value to try to trade him in the offseason? Clearly that hurts his value, the fact that JJ Redick and the staff doesn't even think he should be playing when the Lakers can't hit a shot from 3. I mean, the entire series, they can't hit anything, and your 3-point sharpshooter who's 22 years old is sitting on the bench, and you won't give him any run because he's that bad defensively. it feels like you kind of shot a little bit of his trade value. And yeah, if Mark Williams was there, who knows what would have happened.
Okay, so and I'll look at the comments here in just a second. Let me just I think everyone can get a little bit of blame. If somebody sits here and says, hey, the most disappointing player in the playoffs is Austin Reaves, if that's where people want to go, I got no argument there. I get it. I understand it. If you want to give him a little bit of, I think Minnesota did a phenomenal job on him. I think, the combination of using bigger players, we've seen this before. We kind of seen it against some teams out there that had bigger, younger, good wingspan, some of those 3-and-D guys, they're like, put that guy on Austin Reaves. They can make his life a living hell. And that doesn't mean Reaves isn't talented. It means that teams kind of figured be physical with him. Don't let him get downhill. Like, there were ways to guard Austin Reaves. But if people want to say it was Austin Reaves, I completely get it. Dorian Finney-Smith. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you guys. And I'm going to talk about Dorian Finney-Smith in a little bit. That was actually a big part of the show today that I'm going to hit on. Dorian Finney-Smith, I was highly disappointed in. I was. I don't think Finney-Smith was nearly as valuable as I thought he was going to be in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The Lakers needed Dorian Finney-Smith to be 12, 13, 14 points a game. They needed him to be locked down. They needed his energy. They need this. I didn't really know what I was going to get for DFS. He was getting minutes, but he was getting minutes almost because there just really wasn't that many other options.
To that point, were you surprised? I was surprised that Jared Vanderbilt didn't get, when Edwards was going off in a couple games and then McDaniels and Randall.
Yeah.
I was surprised he didn't just get stuck out there. Like, you're taking Edwards. I don't care if you fell out of the game. You're giving him hell all night, considering Dorian Finney-Smith wasn't playing that great in the series, but yeah. JJ Steven kind of put him out of the lineup. Okay,
so that's going to kind of lead me to where I'm going. So you can make a case for Reaves. I think you can make a case for Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't know of all the Lakers you can say Luka or LeBron. I don't see it, and if somebody wants to say, Luka was the most disappointing, I'd argue against that. If somebody wants to say LeBron was most disappointing, I'd argue against that as well. I think your point about the Pelinka piece, the reason why I don't say Pelinka was most disappointing, I think clearly the roster is flawed. Yeah. But I also think based on what happens this summer, I feel like there's still a little bit of, because if he's able to use Dalton Connect and able to use a draft pick and maybe able to use, Rui Hachimura, and now all of a sudden you got the big that you need and you feel like this is the right guy, then I can't fault him for that. But if they come out in the offseason and you don't really feel like they improved the roster that much, or they got bigs, but they're not the bigs that you feel like make sense for the next couple of years, then I'm probably going to lean a little bit more towards you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, finish.
Oh, no. And to that point, kind of what I was saying about Connect, like, look what the Warriors just did. Kerr didn't play Kuminga all year, and he was forced to because Curry got hurt. But Kuminga looked great in games 3, 4, and 5. I mean, he played really well. So that in the offseason, people are looking at Jonathan Kuminga going, that's a trade piece for the Warriors. Now, I think the Warriors are very flawed, but they knew they were going to lose that series. They just let him run and let him get a bunch of buckets and going, look at this young guy that could really be good. Maybe not on our team. We're going to get pieces back. It feels like Connect was really kind of one of the hot young rookies. And then I get it. It was weird with the trade coming back. And JJ said that thing about how he had to get his head right. But then it really feels like you kind of killed – he's got trade value, but not as much as he could have had you clearly didn't think he was good enough to be playing in the playoffs when no one could hit anything.
Okay, so that leads me to my most disappointing piece in the playoffs for the Lakers. It's JJ Redick for me. Mm-hmm. It was JJ. I mean, of all the scenarios that I thought that would play out, I felt like he was much different in the playoffs than he was in the regular season. I think the moment got to him. I think he got out coached. I think X's and O's, the Minnesota Timberwolves were just smarter and better. I thought he was stubborn as hell with some of his rotations or lack of rotations. And frankly, I thought he was wildly immature during the playoffs. And listen, there's a lot of things you could look at and you could say, well, this didn't go as planned, that didn't go as planned. And we can make excuses about the roster, this and that. The JJ Redick that we saw in the postseason was wildly different than the JJ Redick we saw in the regular season.
Yeah.
And I thought the bigger the moments got, the more he was out of his element. You know, I go back to that game. And again, it is what it is. If you're going to play a game and do something no coach has ever done in playoff history, which is not make a sub in the second half, it's okay to at least admit that didn't work out. You know, like I took a shot, I took a chance, I'll learn from it. I looked down at the bench. I should have found a way to give some of these guys these breathers. And instead it was like, how dare you question my decision, even though no other head coach has ever done this. That's kind of, and I'm not telling you that there isn't blame, you know, to go around, but for me, JJ, that wasn't the same coach that I saw during the regular season.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, there says a lot.
Can I say the same? You know, you're talking about the Dalton Connect piece of it, and you're saying like, hey, you're also losing value in this and that. You didn't even give this guy an opportunity. That's on JJ. You know, so I don't even think that's on Pelinka as much as I think it's on JJ.
Yeah, JJ, the players can get a lot of. I think you're going to take swings and misses in you know, professional sports, but how you did that and coming back and you got chippy with the reporter and stormed out of the interview before Game 5. It was very like, I mean, what are we doing? Like,
that was your question.
Right.
That was your question at the presser. For those who don't know, that was Sammy that asked the question to JJ. I was shocked.
Alan got me those press credentials. Never allowed back. I wish I would have asked it, but yeah, no, I mean, that was a pretty bad response. I mean, I don't know what he thinks he was doing with that. And then, I mean, you take a big swing, you don't play. In looking at that swing, I mean, let's just say Reaves had hit that 3 in the corner and Lakers go to overtime in Minnesota. There's no way they were winning. I mean, they were dead. Luka had the flu 2 days before. I mean, he's sucking wind out there, looking like he's going to puke in Game 3. Game 4, 2 days later, he's playing the entire second half. I mean, I don't understand what he was doing. It was you kind of switched my point. I'd probably go JJ Redick now too with what you said. It's kind of all goes back to him. I don't think that he gave the guys enough love. And you know, I get some people in the comments kind of seeing Luka, LeBron. I get it. Luka it's hard. Like, yes, it's frustrating when Luka's not in shape and you're like, dude, like why are, you know, you're all-star NBA player.
Yeah.
But you need to be in shape. But at the same time, he's having like 38 points a game with the flu and all this, and no one's coming back to the ball to help him. That's where like JJ Redick, like you were a shooter. How are you not helping when Luka's crossing the half court line, getting double teamed every time, and no one's coming back to the ball? How are you not calling a timeout going, you need to help him out? This whole pick and roll stuff that they were doing once they crossed half court just was not working like it was in the past. There were no adjustments whatsoever. And to your point, he looked lost. When it got to the fourth quarter, he looked like it was LeBron coaching the team and Luka versus him, and he was just kind of a passive reporter or sideline.
Yeah, okay. Let me look at some of the comments because we'll let some other people kind of react to this. I was thinking about this. I think it was yesterday. I was like, all right, let me if I had to, you know, I'm not gonna. I know this is very sports media thing. It's like, oh, you got that blame pie. What percentage does this guy? I'm not going to do that. But in my head, because listen, when you lose a series 4-1, that's not on one person's back. Everybody's got something to do with that. And give them again, like I'll say this again, give Minnesota credit. But I think it was the most shocking thing to me was seeing JJ so out of his element, flustered, not really sure what to do. Decisions that he was making, like you said, Jackson Hayes was, you know, good in the regular season, helped the Lakers, had lobs, and Luka, whatever that connection was. Well, it doesn't matter when you're not getting any opportunity. I'd rather have, you know, we saw this with Steve Kerr, and I know Kerr was kind of forced to do this because Steph Curry was out. There were playoff games he was playing 13 guys.
Yeah.
Guys, this isn't working. I'm going to try something different. Hey, this isn't working. I'm going to try something different. This isn't working. Any spark. This is going to sound dumb. And I'm not telling you that this is, you know, going to be the difference of the Lakers beating the Minnesota Timberwolves. Why not play energy guys like Jordan Goodwin? Why not? Why not?
He was good in game 3, I believe he got in.
Why not just put guys that you know the last thing you're going to have to worry about is effort or fatigue, or maybe he's probably fresher than most of the guys on Minnesota that they're using because he hasn't been used yet.
They only play 8 guys too.
I thought it was the wrong decision not to put Trey Jamison III on the roster. That's another guy that I would just say you can give him 8 to 10 minutes and just see what happens. So I think from top to bottom, the Lakers had issues. Let me look at a couple of these comments here.
Yeah.
JJ thought he could turn off fatigue in NBA 2K25. I think he did. I think there's some truth to that. All right, I think LeBron and Luka also disappointed for their standards. Luka looked gassed, out of shape compared to Anthony Edwards, and LeBron is old and injured, so he shouldn't be paid that contract. Okay, real quick on the Luka thing. I think, it's interesting. I'm going to read more of these comments as we go. It's interesting to me on Luka when people say, yeah, but look at him. You saw some quotes from some of these players that even if he is overweight, this, that, whatever the case is, he can still put up 38 and 8. Let's just say hypothetically, that he's able to do that. Cool. All good. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with he needs to be in better shape, period. Yeah. Like, I don't care. Even if you're putting up 38 and 8, you need to be in better shape.
Well, if he is in shape, what can he do then? I mean, if he's not gassed out with 5 minutes to go, what was he can put up 50 a night? I mean, it's
or how about this? How about you're fresher towards the end of a game? I mean, a lot of his damage is also coming in the first half, or it's coming in the first 3 quarters, and then by the fourth quarter comes. Again, I know the roster is flawed. I'm not telling you that, but if anybody wants to sit here and tell me that Luka Doncic wouldn't be a better basketball player if he was in better shape, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Him and I should not have the same diet. We should not. I could probably run the 40 right now with Luka and go toe-to-toe. That's not how that should be.
Yeah. I'm like, you have the best personal trainers in the world. You're in LA. You can get all the green juices you want. I'm like, there should not be a problem. You should have a 6-pack by the time this rolls around in fall.
And I think there's going to be something that comes, well, what's the goal? Is the goal to get 38 and 8, or is the goal to compete for an NBA championship?
Yeah.
Again, I know the roster has so much to do with it. But if anyone wants to defend Luka Doncic, stop defending that the dude is not in good enough shape for the NBA. He's just not.
Yeah, and to that point about both of them, I think there was kind of maybe why Luka got a lot of criticism, and LeBron deserves this as well, because LeBron does this just as much. And I agree with the getting into the whole the boy take a pay cut thing. He better not do I'll take a pay cut for Valanciunas, Harden, and Clay. That doesn't help the team. Everyone knows that. So you're just being forced. Like, if you're going to say you take a pay cut, take a pay cut. But those two, just the optics, when Minnesota was playing chippy, they were kind of playing kind of dirty, but you got to give it to them. They were hand checking. They were taking it back to the 90s and were just throwing guys around. And Luka's complaining to the refs. LeBron's complaining to the refs not running back. It felt like the whole team was just looking for calls, and it's just snowballing. That's why I loved Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt felt like the only guy, and Jordan Goodwin, to your point, just because of his size, he can't really bring the physical edge. Seemed like they were trying to bring it back the other way. And no one else was doing that. It's just like optically, when Luka and LeBron are complaining to the refs and Edwards is throwing guys and they're hand checking, I mean, it doesn't look good. And I don't think you get calls at the end of the game when you do that.
All right. So I put out here, and I know some people had mentioned Austin Reaves was most disappointing. Really, I could say Dorian Finney-Smith, but to be honest with you, his role is just not as big. And, I would have liked to see him do more. But anyways, that didn't happen. For me, it was JJ Redick. JJ Redick was the most disappointing. And, as we sit here and we're, as the Lakers kind of come into the offseason and they try to figure out how to improve the roster and things like that, players need to improve. Players need to be in better shape. Coach has got to get better too. That's just, it's the reality of it. And I think if people are kind of hiding that, no, your coach is critical. Your coach is very, very, very important. And we'll see what happens, down the road. But I do think that was, an area that wasn't good. Have you heard of Erewhon?
No,
Erewhon is? Erewhon is like, when you said the green smoothies and you can go get healthy food and everything else.
Okay.
So Erewhon is one of the most expensive grocery stores in probably the United States. Okay. And they're out here. They're in, some locations in LA. It's the most absurd thing you've ever seen in your life. Smoothies are like $20.
Where's that? Santa Monica? Where?
I think there's Santa Monica. There's one actually now here in Pasadena as well. Okay. It's absurd. It's absurd. Go get a yogurt and you're down 18. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And
have you stopped here, Slee?
I have gone there for their hot food.
Okay.
Their hot food's pretty good.
Okay.
But like you can go get, you ever get one of those rotisserie chickens?
Oh, the best.
Right? Yeah. Ready to go, all that stuff. You could get it at, Ralph's, Sprouts, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Sprouts got a good one.
Sprouts got a good one. Yeah, Sprouts got a good one. And, I think you get it for $10 cheap or something like that, right?
Whole meal for the night.
Air One, it's like $23 for. I don't know if this chicken was living in luxury. This chicken had its own. I don't know how they justify the pricing. The worst part is the place is packed. It's packed.
Oh yeah. Well, you could just sell healthy to anyone. This is gonna make you lose weight. Here you go. You know what I mean? People will pay for whatever. It could just be a sales scheme. Who knows if it actually is healthier chicken? It could just be El Pollo Loco.
100% it could be. Yeah, I know. I'm not telling you that they have figured something out. I'm telling you that the consumers are just buying something that makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. I didn't know I was going to go on that tangent there. I didn't know that was coming.
Hey, maybe sponsorship.
Well, I just lost that. I mean, that ain't happening.
Maybe El Pollo Loco will join, though.
El Pollo Loco, I'm in.
Affordable chicken.
Affordable chicken. Yep. And then put like a logo of El Pollo Loco and a logo of Air One together.
See, look at that. The chat agrees.
Oh, El Pollo Loco is phenomenal. El Pollo Loco is phenomenal. Okay, so let me kind of jump around here real quick. I want to talk about Dorian Finney-Smith here real quick. I want to talk about a specific player as we kind of sit here today. For those, I'm a fan of Dorian Finney-Smith. Let me ask you this question, because I think you were am I right or wrong here? You lean more, you were a D'Lo fan, correct?
I was probably to a fault, but I was a D'Lo fan.
Okay, all good. You were a D'Lo fan. I was down to buy his plane ticket to any other team. We're like on
anyone.
We're like on
anything.
We're on polar opposites when it comes to the D'Angelo Russell piece of this. All right, so real quick, DFS obviously gets traded to the Lakers. I was a big fan of it. He's in an interesting spot. He's got a player option. I think he's in a great spot for him personally. I don't know how great of a spot, based on for the Lakers. DFS is, look, he's the type of player that teams need, right? You need a player that is a 3-and-D guy. He's a vet, been in the NBA for a while. I think he just turned 32 years old. I'm a fan of his game. I'm a fan of what he does. He's got a player option for about $15.8 million for next year. So coming up here pretty soon, he's going to have a decision to make in regards to what he's going to do with his contract. I was very disappointed in Dorian Finney-Smith in the playoffs, period. I don't think there's a reason to sugarcoat it. But I think the Lakers are in a tough spot here. First off, I got faith in DFS. I still think Dorian Finney-Smith could be a nice fit with the Lakers. If the idea and the concept with DFS is, if the concept is to start building around Luka Doncic, well, don't you want a guy that's got a great relationship with Luka that is, in my opinion, if you put him as a starter with the Lakers and there's your backcourt, I think that kind of solves some needs for the Lakers. I don't think we'll talk about Austin Reaves in a second. With that being said, what do you think? How much of a priority do you think Dorian Finney-Smith should be for the Lakers this offseason?
Massive priority. Massive. Yeah. We saw what just happened. They didn't have three-point shooting, they didn't have size, and they didn't have defense. Well, he solves two of those. So I know he didn't have the best series, but to what you said, when you lose in 5 games, it's not on one guy. It's not. There's a lot going into this. Also, Luka. I mean, they're good friends. It seems like. I think that would be a bad way to start off, because you lose Dorian Finney-Smith, you're just looking for a replacement for Dorian Finney-Smith. And to give Rob Pelinka credit, I thought that trade was really in the Lakers' favor. Getting rid of D'Lo for that. I liked D'Lo. Personally, I liked watching him play at times, but it was frustrating. You couldn't count on him. I mean, he would drop 30 a night, and then he dropped 2. Dorian Finney-Smith is pretty solid. They need more of these guys.
And can I say this too? It's more about fit. And I think that's I think the thing that comes to it more. I think more than anything else, and this is why, and you and I will get into it, this is the question with Austin Reaves. It's not that, we'll get Austin Reaves in a second. for D'Lo, it's not that he's not a talented player. Is that what the Lakers need right now? And I just didn't think they needed a player like DFS more than a player like D'Lo.
Totally, and especially with Luka now. You saw Dallas gave you, when they went to the finals last year, they gave you the spreadsheet how to win with Luka, because you can't. You have Luka. We know his struggles defensively, but you deal with it because he's literally the best offensive player in the league. You have multiple bigs, not just one big. The Lakers can't go into this mindset with we're going to get one big, because if he gets hurt, the same thing's going to happen next year. You have to have multiple bigs that you can throw at, just like when the Lakers won in the bubble with McGee and Howard and all these guys, and then athletic wing players that can hit threes and knock down shots. That's how Luka wins. Dorian Finney-Smith fits that bill. I know it takes a lot of the money up, but hopefully they can do something. The mid-level taxpayer exception, I know we always seem to kind of say that every year, but with Luka Doncic, that's people are going to want to come play with him. This is not like, no disrespect to Anthony Davis. I love Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis and LeBron, injury-prone Anthony Davis and LeBron getting up there in age, I don't know how attractive that is to young players to come play. Luka, people are going to want to come play for. And so they got to find some value here, but I think it would be foolish to let Dorian Finney-Smith go.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think the Lakers, first off, when you make a trade and you give up value, your hope is that you're holding on to, you don't want a rental, right? You don't want just that player for just a short amount of time. You're hoping that you can hold on to that player for, obviously past whatever his expiring contract is, or in this case, a player option. I think DFS has value. I want to see Dorian Finney-Smith return to the Lakers. The question is going to be, if I'm DFS, if I'm Dorian Finney-Smith's agent, okay, he's 32 years old. You're not getting many more contracts. This might be his last contract that he can actually get paid in the NBA. I'm trying to get paid. And if that means I'm getting $20 million a year somewhere else, then I'm going to go get $20 million a year somewhere else. Now, I also feel like there's probably a good chance maybe he wants to come back to the Lakers. Maybe he likes the situation, the predicament. Maybe he's got a bad taste in his mouth as well with the way the season ended. Maybe he understands the potential with Luka and what the Lakers do from here. But I'm imagining if his priority is be the nice guy and take a little bit less money, or get my family as much money as possible from my final contract in the NBA, my final significant contract, I think he's going to get some money. I really do. I think, I think he's going to opt out of that 15.8, that player option. And then I think it's going to be up to, whatever the market looks like for him. It's going to be up to the Lakers to make sure that they probably give him what his market value is worth.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see bouncing around with Brooklyn and everything. Like maybe you get a little awakening of what it's like to play for a team that has no shot to win, and it's fun to kind of come back to that. I'm a DFS guy. I would like to see him. I think a guy that the Lakers should target that they could get for cheap is someone they just played. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a guy that he's not some great player. He's not going to come in and make us win a title.
I like him too. No, I think he's got good potential. I like his style, his size. I think he's a good player.
And young, lengthy. I think you can get him on a minimum, maybe the mid-level taxpayer, something like that. I think losing Dorian Finney-Smith, fine. What's the move? What's the pivot? Who are we getting on the open market?
They need him
much better than Dorian Finney-Smith.
They need him. Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of lean more towards of all the players of all the moves that the Lakers, could potentially make and how they're going to improve the roster. There's some guys it's like, no, I don't really think there's a plan B here. I think they need him. And is he going to cost you some money? Sure, he is. But let me read a couple of these comments here. DFS turned around the entire season. We were dead on D before him. DFS ain't giving Lakers a discount. He's going for them. By the way, I've told you guys this before. I mean, if you need to go get the money, go get the money.
Allen gets his bag.
Well, you got to get your bag. I mean, if you're worth X amount of dollars, then you should get what you're worth. The problem with DFS, I don't think it's a problem. I think this is going to play in his favor. I think there's a lot of good teams in the NBA that are competitive, that know that DFS is a value. So I don't think he actually even has to sign with a crappy team. I think he could. There's so many good teams in the Western Conference right now that you can plug DFS on 5-6 teams and say, yeah, he's a good fit there.
And I think like why I'd lean toward DFS staying is look at Denver. Now Denver could win tonight. They could win on Saturday, and I could be kicking rocks or whatever because they end up going to the finals. But look what's happened ever since they let Bruce Brown go. Look what happens when they let KCP go. These kind of type of players. Now Jokic is playing the entire game. They're playing 6 guys, and Russ can't play off the bench. Yeah. I mean, these lengthy guys, like this team would be lethal if they had kept one of them. And I feel like Dorian Finney-Smith, you may argue KCP's better, Bruce Brown, whoever, all this stuff. He's a kind of player of that ilk, and I don't know what letting him go does for you next year when you're trying to put a championship team on the court.
All right, I'm gonna switch gears here for a quick second. You know, one of the big conversations that it ain't going anywhere for a while. I'll probably work on trying to get Dan Weike on the show next week. But there was the last couple of days, there are 2 articles in the LA Times. One article was, you got no choice. You got to do it. If you're going to improve this roster, you got to trade Austin Reaves. Then there was an article this morning, I think it was part of their mailbag in the LA Times, basically said that, slow down. I know you might think that trading him is the right thing to do, but pump the brakes a little bit. Austin Reaves has a lot of conversation around him right now. And you could talk about how, well, he didn't play well in the playoffs. You can also talk about, I took this from the article. Look how crazy this stat is. Reaves averaged 20 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists this season. The only players to exceed all of those numbers are Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, LeBron, Damian Lillard, Luka, Cade Cunningham, De'Aaron Fox, and LaMelo Ball.
Pretty good.
I'm not telling you he's one of those players, but clearly Austin Reaves is a good basketball player. Yeah. You love him, you hate him, whatever the case is. My question with Austin Reaves is this. Can you truly build a championship-style team with Luka and Austin Reaves as your backcourt? Or do you need to use Austin Reaves to build around Luka? What is kind of your take on the Austin Reaves conversation as we sit here in the offseason? Do you think he's a player that you got to 100% look to shop to go get that big that you're looking for? Or do you think he's a player where you're like, pump the brakes, leave Austin and Luka alone? Eventually, Braun is going to retire, and you can figure out some stuff after that.
As someone who loves Austin Reaves, it depends on the offer. Not to cop out of the answer, but it feels like we overreact. It's 2 months ago, it's Austin Reaves is the best third star in the NBA, and then now everyone's like, get him out of town. We can't deal with him. He cost us the series. Yes, he played awful in that series. He was a major reason why the Lakers did not win. I'm not shopping him just to get like a big bag. Like I hear it, like I love Colin Cowherd, but him talking about he has no value and teams don't want to undraft the guy. To that point, teams want.
He said Reaves doesn't have value.
Colin Cowherd does not think that he has much value being an undrafted guy. Guy can't play defense. But to your stats, I mean, who puts up those kind of stats? All those elite big time players.
And he was on a good team. So it's right. It's not like he got those stats playing for Charlotte. He was on right. Or the Wizards or something like that. He was on a team where he was also sharing the ball with 2 other ball dominant players. Or before Luka got there, obviously AD is going to eat way before AR does.
I think the only way, because I think you could get a Claxton. We'll see what happens with Indiana with Miles Turner. I think you could get them without giving Reaves. That's what Cowherd was saying. He was talking about how you'd have to give Reaves. I don't think so. I think you could get a first round pick, package maybe a Vando, something like that to get a pick.
Yeah, I'm not giving up Reaves for one of those players because I agree. I think you can get more for Reaves in a deal, and I think you could probably put together a package where you're not giving up Austin Reaves, but you can still get a guy potentially like a Nick Claxton.
The only way I'm entertaining Reaves is obviously Giannis. That changes everything. If that somehow were to happen, that's why people are like, oh, well, the Spurs package will be better because of the pick, or the Mavs are going to take flag and all that. But the Reaves would be super valuable. That would be something that if you're Milwaukee, you could get back. That changes something. Maybe a Bam Adebayo from Miami. Like, it needs to be a star player that's going to change everything. Not just, I'm getting a good role player back or a couple good role players back for Austin Reaves, because we're going to be trading a 26-year-old guy who's probably going to go be an all-star somewhere.
So I don't think he has – I don't think – if I'm Milwaukee, Yeah, I'm not even taking the Lakers call. It's my opinion. I just have no interest in Austin Reaves. If I'm Miami, I'm not trading Bam Adebayo for Austin Reaves. I'm not. Okay. I think there's kind of an extreme, and then there's like low value. We can't have the same conversation. You can't say Nick Claxton and then say Giannis, right? Like there's such a what is that middle guy? And I think then it becomes a little bit more of a conversation, or it makes a little bit more sense. Reaves a good player. I think, the Lakers front office loves him. I think we are all kidding ourselves if you're not saying, listen to offers, see what's out there. Remember, Reaves is also going to go from getting $15 million a year to probably $30 million a year. So don't also just remember that the man's going to start getting paid a lot more money as well. What's going on the rest of the day? You sound like you're a busy guy. You're going to be running on. Where are you going after this? You're going to Erewhon. You're going to Erewhon.
Yes, going to Erewhon.
Yep.
Getting some groceries, getting ready for tonight.
Yeah.
Going to work. Going to work down here, and then probably watch some NBA tonight.
Good game tonight. Okay, so OKC, Denver. Couple quick ones on the NBA, and we'll let you get out of here. OKC, Denver. OKC finish it tonight, or they're going 7?
I think it goes 7.
It'd be a Saturday night game, 7 at OKC between Denver and Oklahoma City. I think go 7.
The only reason I'm saying it's going 7 because I think Thunder are going the series because they figured out how to close. The beginning of the series, I was like, this is what we worried about all year. I equate this to the Baltimore Ravens a couple years ago in the AFC. They blew past everyone. They were running through everyone. They played Kansas City, and they didn't know how to close out a game at the end of it. I think the Thunder had a little bit of the same thing, is you blow every team out. You're not playing big, stressful basketball at the end of the year, and you get to these kind of end of games, and you don't know how to do it. I think they kind of figured that out with Shea in the last game. But I think they win it in 7. I do think Denver, though, with the elevation, tough place to play, Jokic and Murray, pull a big one tonight.
Here's my only hesitation. By the way, I thought Denver were in such a good spot to take Game 5, and I almost felt like they had to take Game 5. I know that sounds kind of weird.
No, the way that the game was really sloppy. It felt like that was
they were up 7 or 8. They had kind of a little bit of a lead most of the game. Here's the problem with Denver. My concern with them is they depend on such a small amount of guys. It feels like the further this series is going, I feel like towards the end of the games, they're just tired.
Denver, gassed.
I feel like they're completely gassed. I wouldn't be shocked if OKC closed it out tonight. Now,
I hope you're right, because
if Thunder closed it out tonight, watch out for all the teams that are left. Like if you're all of a sudden now figuring out how to beat a championship veteran team, and you're getting better as the series goes, and if you could close out on the road, it's like, Jesus, I don't even know what the odds are going to be for the final 4 teams, but OKC will have such amazing odds to win the entire thing. My issue with Denver is I feel like they're gassed.
You think anyone could challenge OKC if they get past this? You think anyone?
I think Knicks have a phenomenal roster. They have a really freaking good roster. It's funny. Knicks on paper, when they made that trade, I'm like, oh my God, this team is championship built. And they were so bad against the Celtics during the regular season. It's like, what a bunch of frauds. Like you can't even hang with Boston. And then here they are. Obviously I know the Tatum injury, but put the Tatum injury aside. They were about to go up 3-1 even before Tatum got hurt. So it's not like the Tatum injury. The Tatum injury, it was not indicative, I think, of how that series was going. All right, do Knicks choke on Friday night, or they close it out?
No, I think they get it done. I think you saw Game 5. Boston's still too good of a lineup, but are we really going to see Luke Cornett blocking all those shots again? Are we going to see Derek White hitting that many in the Garden? I think the Knicks actually, Stephen A's prayers are answered, and Friday night they get through. That series between the Pacers and Knicks is going to be fantastic, by the way.
Okay, all right. Let me. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about Minnesota? Obviously goes through the Lakers. I was actually not that impressed with them against the Warriors. And I know they won in 5. Obviously, we know a big reason of that is because of the Curry injury. whoever comes out between OKC and Denver, is there a scenario you see Minnesota in the finals, or are you taking either one of those teams?
Oklahoma City, I think, puts them away in 5. I think they'd have a shot against Denver because they would have, again, they play 8 guys, Denver plays 6. To your point about them being gassed, if Denver were to win this series, that means that they're playing tonight. They're playing on Saturday. Anthony Edwards kind of healing that ankle a little bit. If Randall would have to be big like he has been, but I'm with you on they haven't really been impressive. I mean, you played the Lakers who had no size. You played the Warriors who have even less size and sucked. And also at the end of those games, like the Lakers were so gassed couldn't close.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors had even less size. And the only reason that they get away with that is because they have Steph Curry. But Steph Curry's not there for that series. So are they battle tested enough? I think they'll win a couple games, but I think they're definitely pulling hard for Denver because they could have the size
I'm with you on that.
to throw at Jokic. Oklahoma City, I think Oklahoma City would get a series from the Knicks. I agree with you. And I think the Pacers actually have the depth to not necessarily beat Oklahoma City, but to give them some problems because they kind of play the stretch 5 with Miles Turner and, could match up with Holmgren and all these guys. But I think Oklahoma City probably runs through them. What
are you doing on Thursdays? Maybe we do this every Thursday.
Dude, this is my favorite show to come on. So the Sliwa show is the best. So
all right. Let's talk. You and I. Let's talk. I know how you negotiate. I know your player option that you have. I'm very aware of that.
Are you in Solana Beach today? What's going on?
No, I'm going to be in. I was telling the listeners tomorrow. I'm driving out right after this to Harris, which is out. Harris Resort SoCal. So
we're very familiar with what Harris is.
We're working on maybe a little partnership there. So but I'm going to do the show from there tomorrow.
Ooh, we going to be throwing some stuff down at the blackjack table. What's our game?
We're figuring it out. I would rather do poker. I'm more I like playing poker. Yeah.
You trust yourself at the poker tables with all the big fishes? No.
I've done this before where I had one time I was in Vegas and I think I went to where was I? I can't remember the hotel. I can't remember which hotel it was. Whichever one it was. I think the moment I sat down, every poker player there was like, let's go over to that table.
It's like rounders when they sit down at the table.
100% like that. And by the way, I'm talking about like, I'm a guy that doesn't typically I'm not going to wildly bluff. But it got like so personal with one other guy. I'm like, how does this guy know everything I'm doing? This guy knows my social security number. I mean, the guy was reading me like no tomorrow. But poker's phenomenal. Poker's fun, and get a couple games in a poker and then call it a day.
I'm a craps guy. Everyone's around the table. Everyone's kind of drinking, having a good time. Everyone can win. Blackjack I love, but if you do if you had a few cocktails and you take someone's card, that can always lead to some issues. But we're winning money, so it's fun.
I think the casino is going to be okay either way. I think they'll survive whether we win a couple of dollars or we don't.
Yeah, they might know a thing about what they're doing.
They might have a good blueprint.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. We'll chat with you soon, and let's try to figure this out on Thursdays. Maybe every Thursday we talk a little shop here, you and I. Okay, buddy.
Sliwa, you're the best, dude. Everyone, thank you for tuning in.
All right, guys. We'll see you, Sammy. All right, buddy. All right, I said, all right, guys, like we're all leaving. Well, I still got to finish off my show here. Good stuff by Sammy. Enjoy my conversations with him. And like I said, Sammy did a good job during the season. Obviously talking hoops the entire time. All right, let me get to a couple comments here. I know there's some supers that I missed. I haven't got to yet. Let me get those in here real quick. Slee, can we finally pump the brakes on Ant being the face of the NBA? NBA needs to keep shopping for a new face to replace the face. I don't think he is the face. I think people are desperate to try to find a face. I think there are times where Anthony Edwards is a complete superstar, and I think there's other times where it's like, I think he's 23 years old and he's got a lot to learn. I do think if you want to be the face of the NBA, probably got to make a trip to the NBA Finals, and we'll see what he's able to do. I'm a fan of Ant, don't get me wrong, but I think he's got a ways to go as well. So we'll see what happens there. Thank you for the super, brother. Kevin, if Denver advances, the Wolves are going to the finals. They beat Denver last year and is 4-0 against Denver this year in the regular season. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that actually I think would be a really good series because, again, I think Denver is gassed. That's why I don't think Denver gets past OKC. I think they're just tired. And by the way, OKC is phenomenal. They're a really good team. Thank you for the super. Kevin, thank you for the super. Felipe, trade Austin for Gafford and sign Alexander Walker. I don't think the Lakers are going to make a trade with the Dallas Mavericks anytime soon, or at least I don't think the Mavs are. But at the same token, I will tell you this. I think the trade Austin for Gafford, I think they're holding on to Austin Reaves unless there's a much bigger name than Daniel Gafford that's out there. That's what I would tell you in regards to that. Kevin Brown, I absolutely love AR, but the organization needs to approach him about a sixth-man role this offseason or consider moving him for a better starting fit. Listen, I think Austin Reaves will do whatever you ask him to do. I don't think Austin Reaves is one of those players that is sitting back and saying, oh, this is BS. I can't believe they took me. I don't think Austin Reaves is like that. I don't think his personality is like that. I think he'll do whatever JJ Redick asks him for. The problem with the Lakers, on top of this, where I do think that your Austin Reaves can still play starter minutes and not be a starter. But the question is, how do you improve the talent of your team around Luka unless you're not considering a trade with Austin Reaves? How? And, by the way, if Rob Pelinka is able to figure out this summer, guys, we don't need to trade Austin Reaves because I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And now we got size and now we got rebounding. And then I was able to get this wing and I was able to do this, then all good. Then don't touch Austin Reaves. But that's going to be very, very challenging. Go look at the Western Conference right now. Go look at the teams. We were talking about this. I think I brought this up yesterday. Can't you name 5 or 6 teams that are better than the Lakers right now in the Western Conference? And I'm not even talking about Dallas and San Antonio. It's going to be tough in the West. 3-team trade. Lakers get Kessler, Cam Johnson, Andrew Wiggins. Jazz get AR, Gabe. Nets, Heat get Sexton, Maxey, our first, and Dalton Connect. Kevin, you put it in the trade. What do they call that thing? I forgot what they call the trade thing. Throw it in that mix and see what happens. That's a lot of moving parts there for me to kind of try to figure that out on the fly. All right, let's see what else we got here. Hope you're right, Slee. Don't have that much faith in Rob. See what he does. I said this a couple days ago, and I do believe it. I do think that Rob Pelinka kind of promised a lot this summer. I was at that exit interview, and he talked about how Lakers were trying to repair a plane while it was in flight, but now the plane has landed, and they're going to go to work, and that there's going to be a lot of movement this summer, and whatever happened, he felt a certain way about what's on the table here. All right, let's see what he can do here. Jason Dangsley hit JJ with that uppercut. Was highly, highly disappointed in JJ Redick. Highly disappointed. And this is coming from a guy that during the regular season, I'm like, I don't even know what his flaws are. I think the guy was amazing in the regular season. Got exposed in the postseason. Slee, you're hitting the nail right at the head. This is when I was talking about some of the JJ stuff. So that was from a little bit earlier. All right, let's see. All right. Rob won the only chip he'll probably ever get as a GM. All right, see what happens. Okay. Pass the time here a little bit. NFL schedule and MLB news. Let me do NFL here real quick. I'm going to wait on Major League Baseball. NFL, just real quick. This one's kind of a quick one. Schedule's completely out. We know Dallas plays Philly. That's the Thursday opening game. We know KC plays the Chargers. That game is going to be in Brazil. I saw a couple others. I mean, if you're a Rams fan, you can kind of start looking at what that schedule looks like. Whatever fan you are. I know in Southern California, kind of there's pretty much a mix here of NFL teams. You guys know my stance. I'm done. I got no loyalty towards the NFL anymore. But they did put out some of the marquee games. Super Bowl rematch, the Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. That's coming in week 2. So something to keep in mind there. They have Buffalo taking on the Baltimore Ravens. That's a Sunday night game. That's week 1 as well. So there are, obviously there's going to be some interesting storylines in the NFL. There always is. I think the NFL is king, and whatever you put on, people are going to watch. But NFL schedule, the full schedule is out. I think what was the Rams' first matchup Rams, was it Houston? I want to say, yeah, it's Houston, Tennessee. They're at Philadelphia. I mean, they still got Baltimore on their schedule. Obviously, the NFC West, so they'll get San Francisco twice, Seattle twice, Arizona twice. So they'll have some good teams in the mix there. All right, let me read a couple more comments here. We'll go for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to start working my way over to the casino, like I mentioned. Slee, I don't see them getting anyone on a long-term contract. 2026 free agency is loaded. It is loaded. But they can't really just can't really stop on, they can't really put themselves in a position where they just throw 2025 away, right? Like, you got to start building this year towards whatever it is that, even if 2026 is coming and you got big time free agents, you can't kind of just ignore some of the decisions that they have to make right now. Let's see what we got here. We have an empty plane. I don't have an empty plane. Reaves is gone. He overachieved. All right. Okay. My people, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys hanging out for the show. Shout out to Sammy Long for being a part of the show today as well. Killing it. He did a fantastic job. Thank you, of course, to our partner, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, for being a phenomenal partner here. Please subscribe to the channel if you're yet to subscribe. I will be doing a MVP member show tomorrow after my show, so please consider if you're not an MVP member. And then tomorrow we'll be doing the show. I'll be at Harris, probably just doing the show from the hotel tomorrow, and then we'll go from there. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.